Although I am involved with CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada, the views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the participants and do not reflect those of CADAC. And now, cue the music.
This is the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, André Brisson.
Hey there, it's André here with another short for the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, the podcast for the high-achieving ADHD entrepreneur. This episode is brought to you by CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada. You can get more information and you can donate at www.caddac.ca. I was thinking about this the other day, and some realization I came to when shortly after I got diagnosed. And what I wanted to do is to share with you, and I think some of this will resonate with the listener, is the first 20 years of my career, 20 years of my engineering career, it was pointed out to me that I hyper-focused on my career. And I mean hyper-focused, it was the only thing. And just to give you a sense of what I'm talking about, and really explains how I really took care of my hyperactivity, my physical hyperactivity back then. Every day, it was an early wake up, very early. I always try to schedule 7 o'clock meetings, appointments, site, and I would come home late, and that'd be 6-7 days a week, 16, 18-hour days at time. I'd be gone on long work trips, and I always drove, and I always tried to hit multiple sites in a big long trip, and I mean a week. I spent time in northern Canada and Labrador, and I would spend 2-3 weeks up there doing inspections. I was always on the move, in the office, on the sites, and if I was doing trips, I always tried to do multiple hits, stops on a week-long basis, and I was always gone, always on the move. Early wake-ups, I kept my schedule unknowingly purposely overfilled, so I can maintain an urgency that keep my brain going. That was one way that I would guarantee that I would get up. I'd get up and go because I had an appointment. I had to be somewhere by a certain time. And that's how I kept myself on track back then, And then all this time away, I was spending a lot of time away from my wife and then also later with my kids. But in my mind, I had justified it as building my future and experience for the benefit of my wife and family so I can provide them more money and a comfortable lifestyle. So in my mind, without realizing, because I was undiagnosed ADHD at the time, I was maintaining my ADHD and my hyperactivity by keeping always busy and rushing, constantly going. But in a way, my brain said, this is okay, dude, because you're trying to make a better life. That's what I talked to my wife. I talked to everyone out loud. I was gone. I was doing this. I can build it so later on I can work a lot less and move on. Enjoy it because I'm doing this all for my mind. And that made it okay, air quotes. That made it okay for me in my mind. And, I'll be traveling, working. Like I remember going to Ottawa, which is about a 6.5-hour trip from where I live. And just outside of Ottawa, I was doing an inspection on a track machine for a hydro unit. And I drove there in the morning. I did a 4-hour inspection and I drove back home that same day. So that was an 18-hour trip where I spent almost 14 hours driving and 4 hours working in the field. And I did that quite a bit. And, you look back and man, you're an idiot. But it was some sort of drive, internal drive that just kept me going. And I couldn't figure out why, but I just went with it because, you know what? It was fun. It was exciting and I was doing something. And as long as I was doing something, I was happy. But at the same time, with this one way for me to overcome my symptoms of undiagnosed ADHD, it put a lot of stress on the relationship I had with friends and family, and especially my new wife at the time. And then I got so that was a good 15 years. Like that was a go, my first job. And then when I started my engineering company, it was the same thing. Go, multiple trips, conferences all over, get clients from across the country, and just always be on the move. And now what I know now is that was me to satisfy my hyperactivity and also to satisfy and keep my mental energy going by keeping this urgency going at all times. So then I got into this bad partnership. And there, that definitely was 16-hour days. The shop was an hour and a half away, and I'd be there every day, and it wasn't very fun. So add that mental anguish and stress on top of running 12, 14-hour days again, go between the shop, the engineering company, and all sites, take care of all that crap that came with it. And really, what it was I was physically and mentally going 200 miles an hour at all times for almost a year and a half, okay, straight. That was about 2016, okay. Then, as you are aware, I got away from that partnership. And then with that break, I actually sat down one day and realized that my body was tired. I felt worn out. Then I realized it was my body that was feeling worn out. It wasn't me, like my mental. I was mentally fatigued, tired, but my body felt worn out. And then I started to think and start to realize that I came to this epiphany. I was like, man, Andre, your body will not be able to keep up at this rate. This could be an early gray situation. So something's got to change. So like I told you, I took a break from entrepreneurial break. I took an entrepreneurial break from that partnership. So when I broke that with that partnership, I took a break and just kind of figure out what I wanted to do next with my entrepreneurial journey. And during that time, that's when I was diagnosed with severe ADHD, Asperger's, and I started to learn more and I started to get a lot more clarity. And then it hit me. My next stage is I want less rushing. Everything I did in my first 20-some years of my engineering career, my entrepreneurial journey, was at a rush. It was go, 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 go all the time. Head down, ass up, don't stop. That affected me physically, mentally, and also relationship-wise. Now I'm starting to see this. It really affected a lot of stuff. So I wanted less rushing. So the last 5 years, that's what I have been learning, is how to rush less and yet still maintain interest, novelty, and urgency without rushing. And personally, the more I'm thinking about this, the more I realize it. I think there's a difference between rushing and urgency. They're not the same thing. What I did in my first 20 years of my career was I kept my urgency by keeping things rushed. Everything was go, go, go. And what I'm starting to see is I'm starting to pull back a bit. I'm having less rush, which actually is reducing my stress. But yet I still have urgency to get things done because I'm still leaving things to the last minute and actually be more strategic about keeping things to the last minute. So I can have an urgency without the rush. And it's like another level of relieved stress. And I'm wondering how you think about that. Look at your past undiagnosed, or even if you were diagnosed and you got trapped in the entrepreneurial setup, like especially if you're a startup, it was go, 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 rushing. How much of your life and your career was spent rushing, always rushing, not really stopping and smelling the flowers? I hate that cliche, but it's true. It was always go, go, go. Never got to enjoy anything. Never did anything. I even refereed ringette, which meant I was going every weekend on the tournament. And I would do, I don't know, for a while there, I did like 300 hours of games, officiated 300-hour plus games a few years in a row so I could get to provincial level, state level quality games. It was go, 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 but that was a rush. The rush created an urgency. I set up urgency, but it was just one thing after another. And what I have been really working on is how do I maintain urgency to keep my brain firing, yet do less rushing. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you figured out how to do less rushing, but yet keep the urgency so we can still have fun.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by André Brisson. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.